The Galactic Council chamber shimmered with light from thousands of hovering hollow panels. Dozens of species filled the circular hall, their voices layered in a constant murmur. The KRYL invasion had drawn them together, but the air carried little unity, only unease. Commander Elias Kane stood at the Terran delegation's post near the chamber's edge. His black fleet uniform bore the silver crest of Earth, but to the Council he was invisible. Humans had no permanent seat, no influence, and, if one listened to whispers, no future. The messenger's words struck like a blade. Report. The KRYL Dominion has raised a Terran colony of Callistra. No survivors. Gasps rippled, but sympathy did not follow. A scaled minister from the Varan Confederacy lifted a claw dismissively. Predictable. The humans breed recklessly and scatter their kind across fragile worlds. Their colonies were bound to fall. A ripple of laughter traveled through the tiers. A Seleth noble, translucent skin glowing faintly under chamber lights, added, "Perhaps it spares us the trouble of protecting them. Better their weakness be culled early." Kane's jaw tightened until the muscles ached. His sister, Anna, had lived on Callistra. She had sent him a final message 2 weeks earlier, speaking of the harvest season, of how she planned to visit Earth once trade routes were safe. That memory pressed against his chest like broken glass. Still, he stood silent as the chamber moved on, one speaker after another outlining strategy for their own borders. Humanity's dead were treated as background noise. At last, a pause fell. Kane's voice carried into it, low and steady. "You mock our dead as though they mattered less than yours. You think fragility defines us, but you mistake patience for weakness. Dozens of eyes, compound, multi-lidded, faceted, turned toward him. Kane stepped forward, refusing to waver. Understand this. Humanity will not vanish quietly. We don't break the way you expect. We adapt. We endure. When the fire reaches your worlds, remember how you laughed today." The chamber fell silent. For the first time, the word human carried weight. The council chair, an ancient CHYR diplomat whose mandibles clicked with every syllable, tried to ease the tension. "Commander Kane, your passion is noted, yet your species lacks the fleets, numbers, and technologies for meaningful resistance. It is wiser you focus on preserving what remains." Kane's gaze hardened. "We will preserve nothing by bowing. We will fight, alone if we must." No answer came. The chamber returned to debate, pretending his words meant little, though unease lingered in the air. Back aboard the Resolute, Kane found his officers waiting. The bridge smelled faintly of ozone from the hollow screens. Lieutenant Mara Day, his second-in-command, met him with sharp eyes. How did they respond? "As expected," Kane said, settling into the captain's chair. "They'll leave us to die, then argue over our ashes." Mara folded her arms. "Then it's just us. It always was." He turned toward the tactical display. A crimson cluster marked the next KRYL advance. They're moving toward Vera's agricultural colonies. One lies on the trade route to Earth. We intercept them there. The helmsman, young and pale, hesitated. "Sir, their raiding fleet numbers triple ours. Shouldn't we retreat?" Kane's voice cut him short. "If we run, we teach them humans fold under pressure. If we fight, even outnumbered, we show them something they don't expect. We buy time. We learn how they bleed." Silence followed, heavy with the risk. Then Mara nodded firmly. "Orders received. We intercept." Later, in his quarters, Kane sat before a dim console. The room hummed softly with the ship's engines. He pulled up Anna's last message, her smile flickering in holographic light. "Don't worry, Elias. Callistra is far from the fighting. The fields are golden this season. When this madness is over, I'll come home." Her voice dissolved in static. He shut the console, pressing his hands over his face. There was no time for grief, only for resolve. The Resolute's fleet departed Sol within the hour. 7 destroyers, a handful of corvettes, and 1 carrier. It was barely a task force compared to the armadas the KRYL commanded. Yet Kane knew numbers meant little if humans fought differently. As the ships leapt into faster-than-light travel, Kane briefed his officers in the war room. We can't match them ship for ship. So we don't try. We use the terrain. We make every asteroid and every scrap of debris into a weapon. If we bleed them, even a little, it changes the game. A junior officer frowned. What if they crush us before we can make it matter? Kane's reply was quiet, iron steady. Then we died teaching them fear. 2 days later, the KRYLO fleet appeared on long-range scans. 6 heavy cruisers, 10 escorts, and swarms of smaller craft. Their ships resembled blades of obsidian, edges glowing faintly as energy rippled across organic armor. The crew tensed. Kane remained calm. Deploy the corvettes to the asteroid field. When the KRYLO close, they'll scatter. Our job is not to hold. Our job is to make them believe we're everywhere at once. Mara gave a thin smile, turning rocks into allies. I like it. The Resolute moved into position, engines low, weapons primed. Kane studied the tactical map, feeling the weight of lives depending on his judgment. On the bridge, the moment arrived. KRYLO cruisers advanced in perfect formation, confident, unstoppable. Kane raised his hand. Signal the fleet. Execute pattern Viper. Corvettes darted from the asteroids, unleashing a storm of missiles. Destroyers feigned retreat, drawing the KRYLO deeper into the field. Explosions lit the void, rocks turning into shrapnel that tore the alien hulls. For the first time, KRYLO formations faltered. Direct hit on cruiser flank. Mara shouted. Keep pressing, Kane ordered. Make them think we're more than we are. The bridge shook under enemy fire. Warning lights flared. One destroyer vanished from the display. But another KRYLO cruiser, caught in an asteroid blast, split apart in a plume of fire. Kane's voice cut through chaos. Stay with it. They bleed. Remember that. As the battle raged, Kane's mind stayed clear, every move chosen to buy another minute. To cost the KRYLO another ship. Losses mounted, but humanity did not fold. Hours later, the KRYLO withdrew, battered and bleeding, unwilling to chase further into the trap. On the bridge of the Resolute, exhausted crew cheered weakly. Kane allowed no celebration. He studied the empty chairs of fallen officers and the fleet display, 1/3 of his ships gone. He spoke quietly to them and to himself. We're weak, they said. Fragile. Disposable. Let them keep saying it. Every word they speak blindfolds them, and every battle we fight will cut them deeper. Outside, the stars burn cold. Ahead, darker fires gathered. The battle report played across the Resolute's main display. Ships lost, ammunition consumed, repair estimates, all laid out in cold lines of data. Commander Elias Kane absorbed the numbers in silence. The KRYLO had withdrawn, but the cost for humanity's first stand was heavy. 3 destroyers gone, 2 crippled, hundreds dead. Lieutenant Mara Day stood at his side, eyes shadowed from exhaustion. We forced them back. That should count as a victory. It does, Kane said quietly. But the KRYLO don't retreat for long. They'll regroup. Next time, they'll come harder. The crew around them listened without speaking. They had fought bravely, but every face carried the same question. Could humanity survive another round? A calm chime interrupted. The fleet's intelligence officer appeared on the hollow feed. His voice was tense. Commander, we intercepted encrypted transmissions. KRYLO forces are consolidating near Vega Prime. If they break through, Earth's outer defenses will fall. The room went still. Mara spoke first. That's only 2 jumps from Sol. Kane's decision came instantly. Set course. We won't wait for them to reach us. If Earth falls, there's no tomorrow. 2 days later, the Terran fleet emerged from faster-than-light near Vega Prime. The system sun blazed against the void, illuminating the agricultural colonies scattered across the orbit of its gas giant. Transport ships scrambled for safety, their hulls glowing under engine strain. And there, shadows against starlight, waited the KRYLO. A dozen warships in formation, sleek and predatory, their hulls glimmering with organic sheen. The bridge crew braced as alarms shrieked. Kane studied the tactical map. Outnumbered again, nearly 3-1. Status, he asked. Shields holding, weapons primed. Mara reported. Her voice carried steel. but her hands were clenched white on the railing. Kane gave the order. Engage. Execute strike pattern Delta. The fleet split in two. Corvettes darted ahead, weaving through debris fields to harass enemy flanks. Destroyers positioned themselves at oblique angles, forcing the KRYLL to break formation and pursue. Target Cruiser 3. Concentrated fire. Kane commanded. The Resolute unleashed a barrage of railgun slugs and missile salvos. Explosions rippled across the targeted cruiser's armor, carving deep gouges. But the KRYLL responded with overwhelming firepower. Beams of searing plasma cut through the void, one striking a Terran destroyer. The vessel erupted in silence, scattering molten fragments into space. The bridge shook violently. Sparks rained from overhead conduits. "Direct hit on our port shield," an officer cried. Kane kept his tone level. "Reroute power. Maintain pressure. They expect us to break. We show them we don't." Minutes blurred into chaos. Ships darted, collided, died. Kane moved with precise calm, voice carrying over the din. "Feint retreat. Sector 9. Draw them in. Deploy decoy drones, make them chase ghosts. Detonate charges in the debris field. Now!" Explosions flared as asteroids shattered, sending shrapnel tearing through KRYLL fighters. One alien cruiser, maneuvering too close, was gutted by the sudden storm. The crew erupted in brief cheers, cut short as the Resolute shuddered again. A KRYLL beam raked across its hull, leaving molten scars. Warning klaxons wailed. Mara glanced at him. "Hull breach in Section 14. Casualty reports coming in." Kane's jaw tightened. "Seal it off. Get survivors clear. We don't stop." The battle dragged into its second hour. Losses mounted on both sides. Humanity's ships fought with reckless creativity, hurling every trick they could devise. Mine cargo pods detonated in enemy formations. Kamikaze drones ramming weak points, jamming frequencies, turning KRYLL coordination into chaos. The aliens had never faced opponents who fought like this. They pressed harder, but their precise discipline faltered against human unpredictability. Still, the cost was brutal. Kane watched the display as another Terran destroyer was split in half. He closed his eyes briefly, then gave the next command. There was no time to grieve. The turning point came when the KRYLL pressed into the inner orbit of Vega Prime. Kane saw the pattern. Their lead cruiser exposed in pursuit of retreating Terran corvettes. "Now," Kane said, voice sharp as a blade. "All ships, converge fire on the flagship." Missiles streaked. Railguns thundered. The Resolute's forward batteries glowed red from overheating. The KRYLL flagship's shields collapsed in a cascade of light. Hull plates peeled away. An instant later, the vessel split apart in a blinding explosion that lit the system like a second sun. For the first time, the KRYLL faltered. Their formation scattered. Two ships turned and fled. "Enemy retreat." Mara shouted. Relief swept through the bridge like a wave. Kane did not celebrate. He scanned the tactical board. Half his fleet gone, survivors limping, ammunition nearly exhausted. A victory, yes, but one bought in blood. Hours later, the surviving ships regrouped. Damaged vessels docked against one another for emergency transfers. Medical teams worked in shifts, pulling burned and broken crewmen from shattered compartments. On the Resolute, Kane walked the corridors quietly. Crew saluted him, their eyes hollow but proud. He stopped at the infirmary, where wounded filled every bed. A young ensign, face wrapped in bandages, reached for him. "Commander, did we win?" Kane clasped his hand. "We stood our ground. That's more than they expected, more than they'll forget." The ensign's grip tightened, then slackened into unconsciousness. Kane lingered, then returned to the bridge. Mara met him at the tactical display. "Word is spreading already. Other colonies heard what happened here. They say humans faced the KRYLL and didn't break." Kane's expression hardened. "Then let the word spread. But don't mistake survival for victory. This was only a taste. The KRYLL will come again, and next time they'll aim for Earth itself." The crew fell silent. The thought hung heavy in the air. Kane looked out at the stars, his reflection pale against the viewport. If they come for Earth, we'll be ready. We have no choice. Far away, deep within KRYLL space, Overlord Zirak received word of the loss. His mandibles clicked in fury. The humans had been deemed insignificant, yet they had drawn blood. Pathetic creatures, he hissed, voice echoing in the cavernous command chamber. If they resist, then we make their homeworld burn. Prepare the armada. Back aboard the Resolute, Kane stood on the darkened bridge. The galaxy had dismissed humanity as fragile, a race destined for extinction. But tonight, for the first time, they had proved otherwise. It was only the beginning. The shadow of Saturn stretched long across the ice moon Titan. Its orange haze glowed faintly under the filtered sunlight, but the colonies scattered across its surface did not see beauty. They saw a storm coming. Commander Elias Kane stood in Titan Base's command center, the walls vibrating faintly as defense cannons were loaded into position. Reports streamed in. Evacuations clogged every corridor. Transports lifting civilians off-world as fast as fuel and docking schedules allowed. Lieutenant Mara Day joined him, tablet in hand. Intel confirms it, sir. KRYLL Armada entered the system 12 minutes ago. They bypassed the Jovian defenses completely. Titan's their first target. Kane's jaw set. They want to cripple us psychologically. Destroy a colony this close to Earth. Make the rest of humanity feel vulnerable. Mara nodded grimly. And if Titan falls, Saturn's shipyards fall with it. We lose the heart of our fleet production. The display lit up as the KRYLL ships appeared on long-range sensors. Dozens of them. Frigates, cruisers, carriers, all sliding into orbit like knives aimed at Titan's throat. Kane activated the comm. All units, stand by for engagement. No ground is surrendered. Not here. The first wave hit within minutes. KRYLL bombers screamed to the upper atmosphere, sleek black shapes trailing plasma contrails. Titan's defense grid roared to life, railgun batteries firing hypersonic slugs into thin skies. Explosions rippled above the clouds, shattered hull fragments raining down in burning arcs. But for every alien fighter destroyed, 2 more slipped through. Plasma bombs tore craters into Titan's frozen surface, scattering defense outposts like children's toys. Eastern sectors breached. An officer shouted. Enemy troops landing. Kane slammed his fist on the console. Deploy ground units. Hold the lines at all costs. The colony's streets became war zones. Titan's Marines, wrapped in reinforced exosuits, fought house by house against advancing KRYLL infantry. The aliens were nightmarish, tall, armored in carapace, eyes glowing like molten glass. They moved with insectal precision, firing weapons that spat molten bursts. Mara directed fire teams to command net, her voice calm despite the chaos. Bravo Squad, reinforce the southern ridge. Delta, push them back from the fuel silos. Don't let them circle around. Static crackled. Then the voice of Captain Idris, leader of Bravo Squad. Cut in. They're everywhere, Commander, but we're holding. We'll make them bleed for every step. Kane's reply was steady. That's all I ask. Make them regret coming here. From a command balcony, Kane watched the horizon flare with constant detonations. Titan itself seemed to tremble beneath the fury. Mara glanced at him. We can't hold forever. Their numbers don't matter, Kane finished. They need to learn what happens when they step on human soil. Even this frozen rock counts. Her eyes softened for a heartbeat, then hardened again. Then we fight until there's nothing left. Hours stretched. The battle turned savage. Entire districts were reduced to rubble. Civilians huddled in bunkers as Marines bled in the streets above. Kane moved between command posts, his presence steadying terrified defenders. He gave no rousing speeches, only sharp, direct orders, clear objectives that made soldiers believe survival was possible. At one ruined plaza, he paused as a young private handed him a spare rifle. Sir, we thought you wouldn't come down here. Kane accepted the weapon, checked its charge. Where else would I be? The private straightened, fear giving way to grim pride. Together they joined the line, cutting down KRYLL that pushed through the rubble. In orbit, the Resolute fought desperately. damaged from Vega, its shields barely held. Still, its crew hurled everything they had, missiles, rail slugs, even debris converted into shrapnel mines. "Commander," the comm officer reported breathlessly, "the Resolute is at critical capacity. They're buying us time, but they won't last." Kane clenched the rifle in his hands. "Tell them their time won't be wasted." The turning point came near Titan Base's fusion plant. The KRYLL pushed hard, clearly aiming to cripple the colony's power grid. Without it, defenses would collapse in minutes. Kane and Mara personally led the counterstrike. Marines surged behind them, rallying at the sight of their commander fighting in the front. "Hold this line." Kane roared over the comm, rifle spitting fire. Not one step further. The KRYLL came in waves, chittering war cries rattling through the comm static. Plasma scorched the air, melting ice into steaming pits. Mara fought like a machine, covering Kane's flank with precise bursts. "They're trying to flank left," she shouted. "I see it." Kane lobbed a grenade, the blast shattering a cluster of advancing aliens. The survivors faltered, then pressed again, relentless. For nearly an hour, the battle raged. By the end, the field was carpeted with corpses, alien and human alike. The plant still stood, but only barely. As dusk fell over Titan's haze-choked skies, word spread to the colony. The KRYLL were withdrawing, their ships pulled out of orbit, dragging broken formations back toward the outer system. The announcement was met with stunned silence across the command center. "They're retreating?" Mara asked, disbelief heavy in her voice. Kane didn't answer immediately. He studied the tactical screen. The KRYLL hadn't been beaten. They had chosen to disengage. Testing humanity, probing defenses, learning. Finally, he spoke. This wasn't a victory. It was a measure. They know what we can do now, and they'll return in greater force. Mara lowered her voice. "And Earth!" Kane's eyes fixed on the holographic display of Sol, glowing in the corner of the map. "Earth is next." This was their rehearsal. The real war begins when they come for home. That night, Titan survivors gathered in the ruins. Fires burned across the colony, smoke coiling into the thin atmosphere. Families mourned, soldiers sat hollow-eyed, medics worked in silence. Kane walked among them, carrying neither medals nor promises. He gave only his presence, his silent vow that their losses would not be wasted. At the edge of the colony, a child tugged his sleeve. Her face was streaked with soot, eyes wide with fear. "Are they coming back?" she whispered. Kane crouched, voice steady. "Yes, but so are we." The child nodded slowly, as if absorbing a truth larger than herself. When Kane rose again, Mara was watching. "You think she believed you?" He stared out at Saturn's rings arching above the haze. "Doesn't matter. I believe me." Far beyond Titan, in the dark chambers of the KRYLL Overlord, Zirak listened to the battle report. His mandibles scraped stone in irritation. They resisted again. Primitive yet dangerous. Another KRYLL commander spoke. "Shall we deploy the full fleet against their homeworld?" Zirak's eyes gleamed. "Not yet. Let them rally. Let them think themselves strong. When the time comes, we will not break a colony. We will break their heart." On Titan, Kane stood in the shattered command center, the weight of fire and loss pressing on him. He knew the Overlord's thought without hearing it. The next battle would not be fought for a moon or even a colony. It will be fought for Earth itself. The alarms over Earth rang like a single heartbeat. Every station, every orbital platform, every defense grid received the same warning. The KRYLL are here. Commander Elias Kane stood aboard the Resolute, patched together from Titan's battle, its hull still scarred. Through the viewport, Earth spun in serene blue and green. He felt the quiet before a storm no man could stop. Lieutenant Mara Day joined him, headset pressed to her ear. Fleet Command confirms contact. KRYLL numbers exceed projections. 3 carriers, multiple assault cruisers, and an unknown flagship. Kane's gaze hardened. They're not testing us anymore. This is a strike. The comms blared with Admiral Renard's voice, steady but strained. All Terran defense units. Form the shield wall. No ship withdraws. Earth stands or humanity ends. The first clash erupted above the moon. Human destroyers surged forward, engines burning hot, releasing salvos of rail slugs and guided torpedoes. The void lit with white flares. Several KRYL frigates exploded, shards scattering like meteors. But then the flagship emerged. It was colossal, dwarfing even Earth's largest carriers. Its hull rippled with black, organic plates, alive with crimson light. Weapons unfolded from its flanks like the limbs of an insect. Mara whispered, almost to herself, "That thing isn't built. It's grown." Kane didn't look away. "Then we'll burn it anyway." The battle spread like fire across the void. KRYL swarms broke through flanks, targeting civilian convoys fleeing toward Mars. Terran interceptors pursued them, desperate to shield innocents. Inside Earth's atmosphere, orbital defense cannons thundered. Beams lanced upward, striking enemy dropships trying to breach. Explosions blossomed high above the oceans, raining fragments into the sea. But for every vessel destroyed, more poured in. The flagship began descending, its mass blotting out stars as it moved toward Earth itself. Trajectory confirmed. Mara reported, "They're aiming directly for planet. They mean to land that monster." Kane's jaw tightened. "Not while I breathe." The Resolute led a counterattack, rallying damaged cruisers and what was left of Titan's fleet. Kane took personal control of fire commands. "Focus on its joints," he barked. "Target the glowing seams. Break the armor and it bleeds." Rail slugs hammered the flagship's plating. For a moment, its hide cracked and blue-white energy seeped like blood. The human fleet pressed, missiles ripping into the exposed wound. But the KRYL answered with annihilation. A single discharge from its ventral cannon vaporized 2 destroyers. Their deaths rippled to the comms, voices cut short, static left behind. Mara steadied her voice. "We can't match that weapon. If it fires again..." "It won't," Kane cut her off. His tone was not hope, but certainty. "We get inside before it charges again." Boarding actions were suicide, yet suicide was all they had. The Resolute, shields flaring, drove straight toward the flagship's side. Enemy fire raked its hull, tearing through armor. Inside, crew clung to handholds as the ship shuddered under impacts. "Brace." Kane roared. The Resolute slammed against the alien vessel, magnetic clamps locking. Breach pods fired, cutting into the flagship's carapace. Mara shoved her rifle into her shoulder. "You're actually going in there?" Kane loaded a fresh magazine, eyes sharp. "They want Earth. They'll have to go through me first." The boarding party stepped into nightmare. The flagship's interior pulsed with organic walls, veins glowing red. The air stank of metal and rot. Alien drones scuttled along the ceiling, dropping onto the humans with screeches. Kane led from the front. Every shot was precise, every command clipped and clear. Marines followed, cutting through corridors as if carving into a beast's belly. "Control core should be ahead," Mara said, guiding them through her scanner. "If we can overload it." A shriek interrupted her. From the darkness, a towering KRYL commander emerged, larger than any soldier they had faced. Its claws shimmered with energy, eyes burning like embers. The Marines faltered. Kane didn't. He leveled his rifle, firing burst after burst, even as the alien advanced. When it closed a distance, he drew his blade, steel against claw. Sparks erupted as they clashed, each strike echoing in the living corridors. "Keep moving," he ordered his team, locking the beast in combat. "Shut down this ship." Mara dragged the others onward, heart hammering. She could hear the duel behind them, metal ringing, alien screeches, Kane's growl of exertion. Every step forward felt like betrayal, but she obeyed. If the core wasn't destroyed, Earth would fall. They burst into the control chamber. At its center pulsed a massive organ, tendrils feeding into the ship itself. It throbbed like a heart, every beat sending tremors through the walls. Mara raised her rifle. "Plant charges. Aim for the conduits." The Marines worked fast, setting explosives along the base. Alarms blared, the ship sensing its doom. KRYL drones poured into the chamber, but Mara held the line, fire steady, determination burning hotter than fear. Finally, the last charge was set. "Detonate!" she shouted. The core ruptured in a blinding flash. Energy cascaded through the ship, circuits overloading. The entire flagship convulsed, a wounded giant screaming in silence. Kane stumbled into the chamber just as the walls shook apart. Blood streaked his armor. His blade chipped, but his eyes burned with fire. "Everyone out!" he rasped. "Now!" They sprinted back toward the breach pods, alarms howling behind them. The corridors collapsed, fire and alien ichor consuming everything. The Resolute disengaged, dragging free just as the flagship began to fall. From orbit, all of Earth saw it. An immense black shadow spiraling downward, flames peeling from its body. It struck the Pacific with the force of an asteroid. Tidal waves ripped across coasts, but the beast was dead. Humanity still stood. In the aftermath, silence fell over command channels. Then, slowly, voices returned. Cheers, cries of disbelief, prayers whispered into static. Mara leaned against a console, exhaustion in every line of her body. We actually did it." Kane didn't smile. His gaze lingered on Earth, clouds drifting serene again over continents. "This wasn't their whole force," he said. "The Overlord isn't finished. Today was survival, not victory." Mara studied him, then spoke softly. "But survival means we get to fight tomorrow. And that's enough." Kane exhaled, a sound half-laugh, half-sigh. "Tomorrow, then." Far away, in the KRYL homeworld's dark throne chamber, Overlord Zirak rose from his spine seat. Reports of the flagship's destruction hissed through the air. His claws curled, not in defeat but anticipation. "They've tasted blood," he murmured. "Let them believe they've won. The true war has not begun." His eyes glowed brighter. "When next we strike, Earth will not endure." And yet, aboard the battered Resolute, Kane stood with his crew, Earth whole beneath them. For the first time in a long war, humanity had not just endured. They had struck back. The wreck of the KRYL flagship smoldered in the Pacific, its corpse scattering blackened fragments across the waves. But the war was not over. Humanity knew it. The KRYL knew it. And above Earth, the battered Terran fleet stood braced for the next storm. Commander Elias Kane strode into the command deck of the Resolute, armor dented, eyes bloodshot but unbroken. Every officer turned toward him, the weight of survival pressing heavy on their shoulders. Lieutenant Maraday reported, her voice clipped. Scans confirmed multiple KRYL fleets mobilizing from outer sectors. The Overlord himself is leading them. Projection: they'll reach Earth in less than 48 hours. Kane's jaw clenched. Then this ends in 48 hours. One way or another. Earth's leaders gathered in the orbital council chamber, a glass-ringed bastion, suspended above the planet. The faces were grim, admirals, generals, presidents. No politics now, only survival. Admiral Renard opened the council. "We've seen what their flagship can do. If the Overlord's personal fleet reaches Earth, our defenses will crumble. We need something decisive, something final." Mara laid out schematics across the table. Project Dawnfire, a prototype weapon buried beneath Mars. It channels stellar energy, designed to obliterate entire fleets. But it's unfinished. We never had the chance to test it. Silence gripped the chamber. Kane broke it. "Then we tested on the Overlord." Some leaders balked. "It's improving. If it fails..." Kane cut him off, voice sharp. "If it fails, Earth dies anyway. We either gamble or surrender." The room held its breath. Finally, Renard nodded. "Prepare Project Dawnfire. All fleets will buy it the time it needs." 2 days later, the sky above Mars burned. The KRYL came in endless waves, black ships gliding like predators, their swarm filling the void. At the center loomed the Overlord's warship, immense, crowned with spires like thorns. Its surface pulsed crimson, alive with power. On the Resolute, Kane's voice carried across every channel. "All Terran units, this is it. Hold the line. No retreat. Humanity doesn't bow. Humanity burns brighter." The fleets collided. The void erupted in chaos. Human destroyers tore into enemy flanks with rail slugs and missile fire. Carriers unleashed wings of interceptors that dove through swarms, guns blazing. KRYLL ships countered with living projectiles, swarms of drones gnashing through steel hulls. The Resolute plunged into the thick of it, shields sparking under impacts. Mara called out targeting solutions, her hands flying across controls. Port cannons, fire on Vector 4, break that cruiser's wing. Explosions rippled across the KRYLL ranks. For every victory, 10 new threats emerged. Still, the line held. Inside Mars's core, Project Dawnfire awakened. The planet shook as ancient machinery roared to life. Tremors rippled across the surface, fissures spilling molten light. Energy built, channeled upward, waiting for release. But the Overlord knew. His flagship drove forward, ignoring the fleet, heading straight for Mars. On the enemy bridge, Overlord Zirak stood like a shadow given form. His spine crown glowed, his claws clenched around a command dais. Through his psychic link, he felt humanity's defiance burning hot, and he relished it. They think the enemy with a weapon, he hissed. Let them try. I will scour their world to ash. His fleet carved a path, flagship cannons annihilating cruisers in bursts of light. Every death fed his fury. On the Resolute, alarms wailed. Mara shouted, "He's breaking through." Project Dawnfire won't charge in time if he reaches the surface. Kane's eyes narrowed. Then we stop him here. He opened comms to the fleet. All ships, ramming protocol. Throw everything you have into his path. Slow him, no matter the cost. The order landed heavy, but no voice rose against it. Across the void, human ships surged forward like wolves attacking a titan. Some crashed headlong into enemy vessels, tearing both apart. Others locked fire on the Overlord's escorts, willing to burn if it meant buying seconds. Seconds were all Dawnfire needed. Inside the Resolute, damage reports cascaded. Decks buckled, fires raged, casualties mounted. Still, Kane remained at the helm, steering the ship toward the Overlord's flagship. Mara turned to him, pale but steady. "You're not planning." He gave her a grim smile. "Someone has to deliver the final strike. Might as well be me." She grabbed his arm, grip fierce. "Don't you dare throw yourself away. We started this fight together. We finish it together." For the first time, his hardened expression cracked. He nodded once. Together, then. The Overlord's flagship loomed close, a fortress of living steel. Its cannons charged for a single, devastating volley at Mars. But the Resolute was already in motion. Engines screamed, hull blazing from impacts, as it dove straight into the monster's side. With a thunderous crash, the human ship latched on. Boarding party. Kane roared. Marines poured through breach tunnels, storming into the alien Colossus. Mara followed, rifle in hand, every step forward echoing the memory of Earth. They carved their way through endless drones until they reached the command spire. The chamber was alive with crimson veins, the air vibrating with power. And there stood the Overlord. He towered above them, armored in bone and shadow, eyes like suns of blood. His voice struck their minds as much as their ears. "So these are the champions of Earth. You dare step into my throne." Kane leveled his rifle. "We don't kneel to monsters." The Overlord laughed, a sound that shook the walls. Then he struck. The chamber became war. Kane and Mara fought side by side, blades flashing, rifles roaring. Marines fell around them, but still they pressed. The Overlord moved like a god, claws tearing steel, his aura burning minds. Kane met him blow for blow, every strike fueled by rage, memory, and unyielding defiance. Mara's shots tore into his armor, each impact sparking light. Still, he did not fall. Then the floor shook. From deep below, Dawnfire reached its peak. Energy surged upward, Mars itself glowing red as the weapon prepared to fire. Mara shouted, "We just need him held here. If Dawnfire fires while he's still in range." Kane lunged, driving his blade into the Overlord's chest. The alien roared, claws slashing deep into Kane's armor. Blood poured, but he held on, locking the monster in place. "Do it," he growled. Mara raised her calm, voice sharp. Dawn fire, fire now. The universe lit up. A beam of pure stellar fire erupted from Mars, brighter than the sun. It pierced the void, striking the Overlord's flagship dead center. The chamber disintegrated in white brilliance. The Overlord screamed, his form consumed, his fleet torn apart in a single cataclysm. The beam lanced outward, scattering the Caruello armada like dust before a storm. When the light faded, silence reigned. The Overlord was gone, his fleet shattered. Humanity stood. The survivors limped back to Earth. Cities erupted in celebration. Bells rang. Crowds wept. Soldiers embraced. For the first time in generations, the shadow of extinction lifted. Aboard the Resolute, patched and scarred, Kane sat in the infirmary, chest bandaged, face pale but alive. Mara entered, dropping into the chair beside him. "You almost died again," she said softly. He gave her a tired smirk. "Almost doesn't count." For a long moment, they sat in silence, watching Earth rise through the viewport. Finally, Mara spoke. "Do you think it?"